No way. He couldn't have. I brought my husband to the hospital because he had a high fever from a cold. While waiting in the waiting room, I was guided to a separate room. It was a space divided by only a single curtain, and I could faintly hear my husband's voice from the next room.
Please look at that.
The doctor pointed to the gap in the curtain, and when I quietly peeked through without making a sound, I trembled with fear. Because what I saw on my husband's back was the source of the nightmare I experienced in my childhood. I was so terrified that I couldn't stop shaking. Thomas, let's ride that next. My name is Allison, 25 years old, and I was on a date at the amusement park with my husband. I met my husband Thomas, who is 10 years older than me, 3 years ago, and we got married shortly after I graduated from college. We met when Thomas visited the cafe where I was working part-time. We hit it off so well that it felt like we were destined to meet. Since both Thomas and I had lost our parents, we decided to just register our marriage without having a wedding ceremony. Hey, Thomas, how about the Ferris wheel? Whoa.
Hey, Allison, you gotta watch where you're going.
I blushed bright red as my husband pulled me close just as I almost bumped into someone else at the park. Then he gently smiled. I was crazy about Thomas, seeing him as a reliable older man. However, he never expressed a desire to have children with me. In fact, my husband never wanted to show me his body, and we never had sex while dating or even after marriage. As someone who wanted children, I couldn't accept his reasoning that he wanted to do it at the right time. I was curious why he was so reluctant to show his body, so I tried various ways to coax him into it. Hey, how about we go to this pool? It has a hot springs facility too. They say it's really fun.
No. Sorry. I don't really want to go to places where I have to show my skin.
Indeed, Thomas seemed to be uncomfortable with showing his body.
Actually, I suffered severe burns on my body in a fire in the past, and I don't want people to see it.
Seeing my worried expression, my husband seemed apologetic as he finally explained the reason for the first time. Upon hearing that, I felt embarrassed about my previous remarks. I see, I didn't know. I'm sorry. I was so thoughtless to keep asking.
No, it's okay. You didn't know.
He wore his usual gentle smile. Feeling reassured by his response, I stopped trying to push Thomas into uncomfortable situations from then on. However, there was another concern on my mind. Thomas, I'm thinking of taking on a part-time job to repay my university scholarship. What do you think?
That's not a good idea.
Why not? I tilted my head in confusion and Thomas covered his mouth with his hand, looking as if he had made a mistake, and fell silent. There was a pause for a while, and then he scratched his head, looking embarrassed.
I don't want you to go out too much, Allison.
Why not?
Because you're pretty, Allison. I want to cherish you and keep you safe from others.
At that moment, I chuckled it off, thinking it was endearing possessiveness.
So I'll take care of paying off your scholarship instead.
Oh no, you don't have to do that.
It's okay. In exchange, I'll leave household chores to you.
Thomas's kind words motivated me even more to take charge of the household chores. On one of those happy days, my husband suddenly developed a high fever. Wow, you're sweating so much. Thomas, let's change your clothes.
I can do it by myself. Could you please leave the room for a bit?
I don't mind the burns. However, the moment I tried to help him with his pajamas,
I do mind.
suddenly, in a tone of voice I had never heard from him before, I was forcefully kicked out of the room. I wonder why he really doesn't want me to see his burn scars that much. Now I'm even more curious. I diligently nursed him, but his fever wouldn't go down, so eventually, I took him to the hospital. It was a hospital run by our family doctor whom I had been seeing since I was a child, and I thought my husband would feel reassured there. While Thomas was undergoing examination, I waited in the waiting room, checking into my wallet. Suddenly, someone spoke to me.
Allison, may I have a moment?
Dr. Gibson, what's the matter? The person who spoke to me was Dr. Gibson, my family doctor. He was a 52-year-old veteran, managing the hospital as its director. He led me to a room separated by curtains. There, Dr. Gibson whispered softly to me in a low voice.
On the other side of this curtain is where your husband is being examined.
Huh? Why was I called here?
Please take a look at that.
The doctor pointed to the other side of the curtain. I quietly peeked through the gap in the curtain. There, I saw my husband's bare upper back. Wait. No way. I trembled with shock and fear, desperately holding back a scream. It was the very source of a nightmare that had happened in the past. The reason I don't have parents is actually because of a burglary when I was 8 years old. My parents, who were attacked by a burglar, told me to hide in the closet, and they bravely confronted them to protect me. Trembling with fear, I witnessed the whole event from the gap in the closet. I don't remember the burglar's face well, but after the fact, I saw his back as he undressed to change his clothes, which were covered in my parents' blood. That's a rose. His back was covered with a distinctive tattoo of a bright red rose. When I was in elementary school, I was taught the name of that flower when I saw it while visiting the cemetery with my parents. The image of that rose tattoo was seared into my memory, and I was traumatized that I was often troubled with nightmares. The shock of seeing that tattoo on my husband's back in the examination room was beyond words.
I had heard about the burglary, but I never expected the burglar, as your husband, to come to our hospital.
Dr. Gibson, surprised by the tattoo, quietly called me into the adjacent room like this. I was filled with disbelief and overwhelming emotions to find out the truth about the burglar who took my parents' lives in an unexpected way. This is why he doesn't want to show his body and doesn't want me to go out. Realizing the reason, I couldn't help but tremble in shock.
You should run away right now. Being with that man puts your life in danger.
Dr. Gibson warned me sternly. However, I couldn't believe it instantly. I wondered if the kind husband I knew could really be the same person as that vicious criminal. My mind was in turmoil, and I didn't know what to believe anymore. I want to see for myself. I looked back at Dr. Gibson with determined eyes. If my husband turned out to be that burglar, I would want to avenge my parents. It's something I've been thinking about since I was a child. And besides, maybe it's just a coincidence that someone else has the same tattoo. The suspicion towards my husband and his kindness as a husband. Without knowing what the truth really was, I pushed aside Dr. Gibson, who tried to stop me, and stood up. And so, after finishing the examination, we returned home. Here's your cold medicine. Anyway, you should get plenty of rest to recover.
Ah, thank you.
While Thomas was down with a fever, I decided to do what I could. First, I want to gather evidence about the incident, but how can I prove a case from 17 years ago? I decided to spread out the scrapbook I had created over the years, collecting newspaper and magazine articles from the time of the incident, to see if I could gather any clues. According to the scrapbook, there were 4 pieces of evidence found at the scene. A knife used in the crime, a t-shirt covered in my parents' blood, a towel believed to have been used to wipe off blood from the body, and my eyewitness testimony as a child about the man with the rose tattoo on his back. I stared at the scrapbook articles for a while, but I couldn't figure out how to prove the incident, and I groaned in frustration. Maybe I'll think about it while doing some chores. With that thought, I casually turned on the TV while running the washing machine, and something caught my eye. Wait a minute. Could it be? I resolved to uncover the truth myself and clenched my fist tightly. And 3 days later, having prepared everything, I decided to confront my husband. I deliberately showed my husband, who still had a fever, the scrapbook articles I had collected over the years. Thomas, you remember I talked about the incident where I lost my parents, right? There's something I want to ask you.
I'm sorry. My head feels fuzzy from the fever. Could we talk about it another time?
Thomas, whose temperature soared to 39 degrees, tried to evade the conversation with moistened eyes, but I couldn't let up now. I lifted the hem of Thomas's pajamas to forcefully look at his back.
Hey, what are you doing? Stop it.
As I expected, there was a rose tattoo. I knew it. There wasn't a single burn scar on his body, and it was all a lie. I hoped what I saw in the hospital examination room wasn't what I thought it was, but I had to accept the truth before my eyes. My husband looked away from me and clicked his tongue.
Hey, tattoos. They all look kind of similar, right?
That excuse won't work. I heard it from the tattoo artist who inked the rose on your back. The TV program I watched the day before was about popular tattoos among young people. In that program, the shop owner mentioned that he had photographed all the tattoos he had done in the past and kept records of them. I thought other tattoo artists must have kept their work as well, so I searched for a tattoo shop in my husband's hometown, and found only one tattoo shop website. On that website, there was a photo of a rose tattoo as a sample. The other day, I visited the tattoo shop without telling my husband, and I showed them a photo of his back that I secretly took from the room next to the examination room. And then there was the exact same picture in a scrapbook that the tattoo artist showed me. Thomas grimaced in frustration when he heard about it. Why did you decide to marry me?
I read in a magazine that a victim's child saw the back of the burglar.
He found out about me witnessing the event in the closet from a certain magazine article, and had been investigating me.
I've been watching you since you were in elementary school. You didn't notice, did you?
Upon learning that Thomas had been watching me for such a long time, I was shocked by the creepiness of it all.
But as you grew up, you became the type of woman I like, so I wanted to make you my wife.
Disgusting.
If you had found out, I was planning to get rid of you.
I trembled with an indescribable fear.
You could have lived your whole life in peace without knowing anything, but you're a fool for ruining your own happiness.
My husband, delirious with fever, mocked me. What peace? I don't need such fake happiness. I glared at him sharply, filled with anger. You knew about my university and workplace too.
It was quite a challenge to find out on my own.
and he said he had approached me at the cafe, pretending it was a fateful encounter, just to get close to me. Unforgivable. Realizing I had fallen completely into his trap, I shook my fists in frustration and anger. My husband looked down on me and smirked at me.
So, what are you going to do about it? There's no evidence left from 17 years ago, right?
Actually, yes. I've already taken steps to corner you. I had kept a firm piece of evidence to confront him with.
Is that a towel?
The towel I used to wipe the sweat from my forehead while nursing you. You scrubbed your face with it, didn't you?
So what?
Thomas looked puzzled, waiting for my answer. Fine, I'll tell you. Among the evidence you left at the scene, there was also a towel, remember? That towel was used to wipe off my parents' blood from the burglar's body. I'm sure you vigorously rubbed with the towel. What do you think happened then? Due to his high fever, my husband seemed unable to think clearly and looked dazed. If there are skin cells along with sweat left on that towel, we could use DNA testing to see if it matches.
There's no way they can test something from so long ago, right?
Well, nowadays they can. It was then that my husband, for the first time, showed signs of panic, saying, "Wait a minute, calm down."
Besides, it happened 17 years ago and it must have run out of the statute of limitations, hasn't it?
There's no statute of limitations for burglary. You should know that best, shouldn't you? As I calmly replied, my husband fell silent, looking deeply frustrated. And then, with moistened eyes blurred from fever, he knelt before me and gently took my hand.
Please forgive me. I married you because I wanted to atone for my sins. I just wanted you to be happy.
Isn't that different from what you said earlier? Shall we check that? I played back the voice recorder I had been using all along. From it, the recording of my husband's confession played.
As you grew up, you became the type of woman I like, so I wanted to make you my wife. When did you?
I forcefully shook off his hand. Don't touch me with your filthy hands. Your hands are still tainted with my parents' blood. Thomas, looking pale, trembled with his head down, and then suddenly started laughing, shaking shoulders.
Ha ha. Ha ha ha. Well, there's no option now. I was going to get rid of you if you found out.
The husband's eyes looked ferocious like wild animals, and he licked his lips. He attempted to strangle me, but in his feverish and unsteady state, I honestly felt no fear at all. I quickly tripped him and he fell down. Then I sat on his back.
Hey! What are you doing? Get off!
When the police arrive, I'll let you go. By that means you'll go to jail though. I remained sat on his back and called the police using my smartphone. And then, the police arrived and he was taken away without resistance. It's all over now, Mom, Dad. I've avenged you. I watched Thomas being forcefully pushed into the police car. And thus, I finally achieved revenge after 17 years. Afterward, my husband was formally arrested, and a case that had been unsolved for 17 years was finally resolved. Thomas faced serious charges, and it is uncertain when or if he will ever be released from prison. I divorced him and now work as an administrative staff at the hospital run by Dr. Gibson, my family doctor. He has known me since I was young and has been kind to me, and gradually healed my emotional damages. Dr. Gibson introduced me to a young doctor, and we're currently in a relationship with marriage in mind. The real part of my life has only just begun. I will push aside any misfortune and live resiliently.